Michelangelo by Sylvia Valios. Basic facts. Michelangelo was born on March 6, 1475 in Caprice, Italy. He was the second of 5 sons. His family owned a moderate banking business. His family moved to Florence, Italy when he was still an infant. His mother, Francesca Neri, fell ill. He was placed with a family of stonecutters at age 6. Early schooling and influences. Michelangelo was never very interested in school, only art. Finally, at the age 13, his father agreed to apprentice him to a Florentine painter's workshop. After a year, he moved into the Palace of Florentine to study under the powerful Medici family. He studied classical sculpture in the Medici Gardens. During his time with the Medici family, 1489 to 1492, he got access to the social elite in Florence, which eventually allowed him the opportunity to study under Bertoldo di Giovanni. With special permission from the Catholic Church, he was able to study the anatomy of corpses. All these things contributed greatly to what would become his unique style: muscular precision combined with reality and beauty. 2 of his early sculptures that begin to show his gift are Battle of the Centaurs and Madonna Seated on a Step, which he made at age 16. There was political unrest after the death of Lorenzo the Magnificent, which caused Michelangelo to flee to Bologna. He continued to study while there before returning to Florence in 1495 to work as a sculptor. In Florence again, he focused on the classic antiquity style. Perhaps his most notable piece from the time is Cupid. There are several stories on how it was artificially aged, but it was sold as an antique to Carnival Riario. When Riario discovered it was not antique, he demanded his money back. In a strange twist, Riario ended up being so impressed by Michelangelo's work that he invited him to Rome. Michelangelo lived and worked there for the rest of his life. The Pieta and the David. In 1498, Michelangelo had the opportunity to work under another prominent man, Valeris de Lagualis. He created the Pieta, a sculpture of Mary holding Jesus' dead body on her lap, in less than a year. It was placed in the Church of the Cardinal's tomb, but has been moved 5 times. It currently stands at St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. He carved Pieta from a single piece of Carrara marble. The fluidity he showed of the fabrics, along with the positions and movements of the subjects, caught the attention of many and is still awed at today. Pieta is the only piece of work with his name on it. According to the legend, he overheard pilgrims giving credit for the work to another sculptor, so he carved his signature on Mary's sash. Michelangelo returned to Florence as a seasoned artist and took over the making of the statue David. He carved a 17-foot piece of marble into one of Florence's most prized pieces of work. David showed strength, courage, and vulnerability, which made it so remarkable. Art and architecture. Michelangelo switched from sculpting to painting and decorated the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. His original plan was 12 apostles, but he ended up painting more than 300 figures. On a 60-foot ceiling, he completed the whole thing alone, spending many hours on his back. He finally revealed his finished work on October 31st, 1512. The masterpiece is a huge example of Renaissance art. It incorporates Christian symbology and teachings, along with humanist principles that Michelangelo experienced growing up. The ceiling also showcases a kaleidoscope effect, with the main focus being the creation of Adam. His work on the Sistine Chapel influenced many artists such as rival painter Raphael. In 1541, he unveiled the Last Judgment on the wall of the Sistine Chapel. Immediately, there was outcry due to the fact that the painting portrayed nude figures and people believed it was inappropriate for a holy place. Painting the Sistine Chapel took a large physical toll on Michelangelo, and he began to paint and sculpt less and turned more towards architecture. For the next several decades, he continued work on the tomb of Julius II and also designed the Medici Chapel and Laurentine Library. Michelangelo's most impressive architectural achievement came in 1546 when he was appointed chief architect of St. Peter's Basilica. Personal life. Michelangelo was never married, but he was devoted to a widow named Vittoria Colonna. He remained with her until she died in 1547. In 1532, Michelangelo formed a relationship with Tommaso de' Cavalieri. His sexuality is still disputed by historians. Death and legacy. Michelangelo died on February 18, 1564, at 88 years old. He died at his home in De' Corvi, Rome, but his body was taken back to Florence by his nephew, where he was flaunted as the father and master of all the arts, and was buried at the Basilica di Santi Croce, the place where he had chosen. Michelangelo is one of few artists who lived to enjoy the fame and wealth associated with their work. He also lived to see 2 biographies be published about him. Michelangelo's work has been appreciated for centuries and will be appreciated for many more to come. He is regarded as the best artist of the Italian Renaissance. These are some pictures of Michelangelo's work. The first one is his the Last Judgment picture in the Sistine Chapel, and the one underneath it is the Sistine Chapel ceiling. The next one is his sculpture of David, and the Pieta is the next one over, and underneath it, the last one, is the Basilica.